He noticed her by accident, through the wide glass windows of his mansion, while the rain fell hard enough to blur the world beyond. The millionaire paused mid-step, holding a glass of water, struck by a sight that felt strangely out of place in his carefully ordered life. There she was, sitting on the back steps in the cold rain, quietly eating her lunch with her head bowed, as if she believed she did not deserve shelter. In that moment, something unseen cracked inside him, because this was not how a human being should live, and yet he had allowed it to happen under his own roof. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and stories that remind us of our shared humanity, take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs a reminder to care, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps these stories reach hearts that need them most. His name was Jonathan Reed, a self-made millionaire in his early 50s, living in a quiet, wealthy neighborhood in the United States. He was known for his discipline, sharp business instincts, and controlled emotions. Jonathan believed in fairness, but he also believed in distance. His mansion was pristine, his schedule precise, and his relationships carefully managed. He employed staff to keep his world running smoothly, including the maid who had worked in his home for nearly a year. Her name was Mary Collins, though until that moment, he had never truly noticed her. Mary was a Christian woman in her early 40s, small in stature, with a tired gentleness about her. She arrived early every morning, worked quietly, and left without complaint. She never asked for favors, never took breaks longer than allowed, and never drew attention to herself. To Jonathan, she had been part of the background, like the hum of appliances or the ticking of a clock. Useful, reliable, and invisible. That rainy afternoon, Jonathan was home unexpectedly. A canceled meeting had left him restless, pacing his halls, trying to fill time. When he glanced outside and saw Mary eating in the rain, confusion quickly turned into discomfort. There was a covered staff area inside. There was a warm kitchen. Yet she sat outside, letting the rain soak her clothes while she ate from a small plastic container. Jonathan watched longer than he intended. Mary ate slowly, carefully shielding her food with her body, her shoulders hunched against the cold. Her expression was not angry or bitter. It was resigned, as if this was simply how things were meant to be. That night, Jonathan could not sleep. The image followed him into the dark. He told himself there must be a reasonable explanation. Perhaps she preferred the quiet. Perhaps she was used to worse. But excuses felt thin, and something deeper stirred. Something he had buried under years of ambition and emotional control. The next day, Jonathan began to observe more closely. He noticed Mary wore the same worn coat every day, even when the weather changed. He noticed she often skipped breaks and quietly declined food offered by other staff. He noticed how carefully she conserved supplies, how she folded discarded paper bags to reuse later. These were not habits of preference, but survival. Jonathan's discomfort grew into concern. He asked his assistant to discreetly look into Mary's background, not out of suspicion, but unease. What came back shattered him. Mary lived in a small, deteriorating apartment with her 2 children, Ethan and Grace, both under the age of 12. Her husband, a factory worker and devoted church volunteer, had died 2 years earlier in an accident that left the family with crushing medical bills and no insurance. Mary had lost their home shortly after. She worked 2 jobs, one cleaning offices at night, the other serving as a maid during the day. Most of her income went to rent, food, and keeping her children in school. She often skipped meals so they could eat. When she sat in the rain to eat, it was because she didn't want to dirty the house, and because she believed she was not entitled to comfort in a place that was not hers. Jonathan felt something he had not felt in decades: shame. He remembered his own childhood, growing up in a modest Christian household, watching his mother stretch meals, watching his father work overtime to keep dignity intact. Somewhere along the road to success, Jonathan had forgotten what vulnerability looked like. He had replaced empathy with efficiency. He did not confront Mary. Instead, he made changes quietly. He ensured the staff area was always warm and stocked with food. He adjusted work schedules to allow proper breaks. Still, Mary continued her habits, unaware of the silent shift occurring around her. One evening, as Jonathan prepared to leave, he noticed Mary still working late, polishing surfaces that did not need polishing. Her dedication was not driven by fear, but gratitude. She worked as if every task mattered because, to her, survival depended on excellence. The weight of it became too heavy to ignore. Jonathan invited Mary into his office the following week. He did not accuse or interrogate. He listened. What he learned directly from her was worse than any report. Mary spoke of faith that carried her through exhaustion, of children who prayed nightly for strength, of days when hope felt thin but necessary. She spoke without bitterness, without self-pity. Her dignity remained intact, even when her circumstances had stripped everything else away. Jonathan realized that wealth had insulated him not just from hardship, but from humanity. From that moment on, change was no longer optional. Jonathan helped Mary in ways that preserved her dignity. He increased her salary significantly, provided paid time off, and helped relocate her family to safe housing closer to her children's school. He arranged for childcare support and educational assistance, framing each step not as charity, but respect. Mary cried when she realized what was happening, not because of money, but because someone finally saw her. The changes did not end there. Jonathan began volunteering at local shelters, funding support programs for single parents, and restructuring how he treated those who worked for him. His home changed. It felt warmer, less like a fortress, more like a place where life was allowed to exist fully. Mary's children flourished. Ethan's grades improved. Grace began singing in church again. Mary herself carried her shoulders differently, not lighter because life became easy, but because she no longer carried it alone. Months later, on another rainy day, Jonathan noticed Mary eating lunch inside, laughing softly with other staff members. The rain still fell, but it no longer defined her place in the world. Jonathan stepped back, humbled by how close he came to missing the truth entirely. He understood now that compassion delayed is compassion denied, and that seeing is not the same as noticing. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change lives in quiet, powerful ways, please like this video, share it with someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe to the channel so more stories like this can be told. Before this story ends, leave a comment below sharing what this moment made you feel, or write one word that represents compassion to you. Because sometimes, the most heartbreaking truths are not found in the rain itself, but in realizing how long someone has been standing there unseen.